Hello, everyone. I week is going well and hope that you are doing well. I'm Dr. Elliott Parker. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Writing and Rhetoric here at Ole Miss. And the purpose of our Zoom presentation today is to talk about research and how to access the research materials and resources available to you through the J.D. Williams Library. And I'm so delighted to have with us today Alex Watson, who is one of the librarians at the J.D. Williams Library. And he's a good friend of our department. He's worked with us for a number of years, both faculty and students, on a variety of different projects. And so I'm so delighted that he took time out of his schedule to talk to us today about the research materials and databases and things available for research purposes that can help you as students work through any research project that you may have for a writing class here in the DWR. And so before we get to that, I will just let you know that this information is being recorded, and this will be shared with other folks throughout the Department of Writing and Rhetoric, other classes, other instructors, and things of that nature. So you'll have an opportunity to see this. You may see this video maybe more than once, depending on what courses you're taking and things like that. But I wanted to let you know that this is being recorded and will be disseminated to a wider audience other than just yourself or your class or whatever it is that you are using this for, or however you're viewing this particular presentation. It's going to be spread out and disseminated to a larger audience. So without further ado, I wanted to welcome Alex Watson to this presentation, and he's going to walk you through the databases and what's available to you for research purposes, how to access that information, and hopefully clarify any questions that you may have or relieve any anxieties or nervousness that you may have about the research process. One of the things I think you'll find as he talks today is that there is so much great information available to you through the Williams Library that's really right at your fingertips. It's just a matter of knowing where to go for what and how to find and access that information. So I've talked too much already, so I'm going to stop right now and I will turn things over to Alex. Alex, thanks so much for doing this.
Well, thank you. My name's Alex Watson. I have been a librarian at the J.D. Williams for almost 15 years. And what we're going to go over today are some basics with getting started on the library site. Now, I understand that there's a lot of information at your fingertips here. You may not have enough fingertips to actually cover all the pieces of information here, but that's okay. We're going to break it down into nice, manageable, digestible chunks. So the first thing I want to tell everybody is you need to come to the University of Mississippi Library site, libraries.olemiss.edu, if you want to access any of this information. If you ever forget our URL, you can just go to olemiss.edu. You can see our latest fundraising campaign, which you're contributing to through your tuition and possibly working a campus job. But you'll see there's a nice libraries link right here, and that will always take you directly to this page. So the reason that you have to come to this page is because there are times when we may have to show you information that is confidential, copyrighted information that we have paid to use on your behalf. And the only way we have of knowing that you are one of the privileged few that's able to access this incredibly secret information is by occasionally providing your username and password. And if you don't come to this site, we won't have the opportunity to ask you for your username and password. Therefore, we won't know that you're a student, and you may be hit with a paywall, which you should certainly never pay for any of the information that we have available to you. So a few quick things that I want to point out about this page to start with. First of all, if you need help using it, you can see that there's a chat box over here. Chat is currently offline, but you can send an instant chat message from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday during the normal hours of the semester. And there will usually be a librarian or a library student there to answer your questions. Down here under Ask a Librarian, you can see that we have some additional information. The chat box will also appear here if you don't want to mess around with this dodgy nub. And you can also see that we have a few other pieces of information. We've got the telephone number here. We've got the email address that you can use to ask us a question. These are both particularly nice to use after hours because this will go to the desk that's manned in the library. And this is a collective email account that everyone checks. You can also schedule a private consultation either by video conference or in person with one of your librarians. And in order to do that, you just click here and you'll see an alphabetical directory of all of the people that work in the library. As you can see, there's a lot of them. So all you need to do if you are looking for specific help with your subject or even just a subject area that you're interested in but not majoring in, you can go here and find that information. For instance, if you were looking for something in gender studies, you can ask Dr. Kelly. It's got her phone number right here, as well as her email address. And if you're looking for something in English literature, you can see that that's me. So here's my number and my email address. There are a few that are currently blank as of when we're recording this, which is fall of 2022. That's because we're in the process of hiring a librarian for those areas. If a librarian leaves, then those are temporarily taken on by the library administration. So you can see here that there's still a phone number and there's still an email address that you can reach out to for help, but those will simply take you to the library administration where you will get help from one of our assistant deans. So it's actually a bit of an upgrade if you think about it. So if you ever have any difficulty finding information or even knowing where to look for information, we've always got librarians willing to help you either by chat, by telephone, or with a scheduled consultation. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You're not bothering us. You are just asking us to do our job. It's no more of a bother than when you pull up to the Wendy's window and pick up your food. You don't worry about bothering them. You shouldn't worry about bothering us. So when you're actually starting your research, there are several different things that you can try. I'm going to show each of them to you in sequence. First of all, we've got OneSearch. OneSearch is a very large, prominently placed, and fantastically expensive search box that we've got in the middle of the page here. And this is specifically designed from the ground up to be a very easy, beginning, non-threatening way of doing some basic research. Essentially, searching OneSearch allows you to search a good percentage of our books, about our articles, our databases, all of our library resources all at once. It has some quirks, but it generally is an excellent place to start your research, especially if you're not sure what you're looking for, especially if you're still kind of feeling out your topic. This allows you to try out some searches in very quick succession and see how they work. So let's say that I was interested in searching for something extremely basic, something that I'm interested in but don't necessarily know how I might research it. I simply type it in there, and you'll note I don't have to log in or anything, not yet anyway. And it will give me all sorts of information. 3 columns worth of information, in fact. That's 2 more columns than you normally get on your cell phone. But the essential thing to realize is this. First, you'll see the number of results that you have. Generally speaking, for a very basic search like this, a couple million results is nothing to sneeze at. But all of the results are in the middle here, organized as far as the computer is concerned in order of relevance. And you also have a variety of search refinements over here that you can use to make your search a little bit better. And generally what I suggest people do is do their search, put on some search refinements, see what comes up, and then use that to make their search better. So you can see that you can limit by particular types of media. For instance, if you want to see something that you don't have to check out as a physical book and that you'd like to read, you can click on full text online. If you are interested in a particular type of content, you can come down here. And you'll see what we've got are about 5 million newspaper articles, about 77,000 magazine articles, about 71,000 journal articles, book reviews, trade publications, etc., etc. This is particularly useful when you have a assignment that says you must use a certain number of journal sources. You must use a certain number of newspaper sources. This is the tool that allows you to do that. So one of the things that you can do here is limit to scholarly journals. This may be a type of resource that your assignment requires you to use. So I can click on journal article here, and you can see that it has limited me to about 71,200 results, a far cry from the 5 million that we were getting just a minute ago. In fact, it looks like several of the ones that are up front are all the same article. Occasionally, you get little quirks like that. I'll also go ahead and click on peer reviewed. You'll see that that removed a lot of those. In that case, what we were getting was somebody reviewing an article, or rather reviewing a book, by saying both a peer-reviewed article and an article that's in a journal. We removed the non-peer-reviewed parts of those journals, things like reviews, letters to the editor, advertisements, and what have you. The thing to remember about peer review is it simply means people considered experts, or at least knowledgeable in the field, have looked over the article before publication and have signed off on it, saying that it's okay. It's not a perfect system, but it does give you a slight layer of additional confidence that what you're reading has been looked over and checked. It's the sort of thing that you won't get from a newspaper article, for instance. Finally, you have a few other options. You can limit by publication date if you're getting stuff that's too old. You can add in some subject terms if you're interested. You can see here that we've got life sciences and biomedicine if you're interested in, for example, looking at baseball injuries, repetitive stress injuries, and how to treat those. Generally speaking, though, especially for a basic search, this will be enough. If I have to limit something, I will usually limit it to the last 5 or 10 years. That will normally be enough to get rid of hoary old articles from the 70s or the 80s when I was born, but it won't be eliminating anything that's too current. I highly suggest against using the 1-year limit, if only because it takes a while for that peer review process to happen. And if you limit to only the last year, you're really cutting yourself off from a lot of information. If something is a current event, that's something that probably won't even have had time to be a journal article yet. So we'll go ahead and choose last 10 years. So that will be everything from 2012 to the present. And you can see here we have a couple of different articles. This one's talking about hamstring injuries. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff talking about baseball injuries, baseball pain, shoulder injuries, what have you. So if this is what we're interested in, fantastic. But if we're interested in another aspect of baseball, then we can add another word to our search to try and get at that. So you can see here, there's an article suggested from the Encyclopedia of Race and Racism. That gives me the idea, well, maybe I'll add race to my search. Here you go. You can see now we've got about 194 articles talking about race in baseball from the last 10 years. This one's talking about promotion. This one's talking about the Pacific Coast League. This one is talking about integration in the Orioles in Baltimore, and a number of other articles. So these all look very interesting. We've gone ahead and used our search tools and what's come up to generate a nice narrow search with only 200 articles. So let's say that I wanted to read one of these articles. That's super simple. All I need to do is click on the title, and it will go ahead and open up a new tab. Now, in this case, you'll see it is asking me to log in. You can't see my password, sorry, that's just for me. But it does allow you to look at the article as we've got it here. So you can see we've got the entire article laid out for us, complete with the empirical model. And perhaps most importantly, you can see that they have a list of references. And these are actually hyperlinked too, so that you can find them in Web of Science, Google Scholar, and most importantly, you can use this button here to find it within our collection. This is another reason that we use peer-reviewed articles, because they have to cite their sources. They have in-text citations and a list of references at the end, just as someone writing a paper as a undergraduate would. They have to follow the same rules that you do. And by looking at this, we can see other articles on the same topic. These, as you can see, are a little bit older than our search range, 2008, 2011. That's why they didn't show up, but they may still be very useful. So one of the things that you can do is go back into OneSearch, change your settings a little bit, and try and search for these. Or if you want to, you can even follow the red Find It button here, which in this case took me right to it. And now I can just read this article. All right. Now, there are a few other really wonderful tools that you can use within OneSearch. First of all, you can use these little quote marks to generate a citation for the article. So in this case, you can see that I have the choice of a number of different citation styles. As an undergraduate, APA, MLA, and perhaps Chicago are the ones that you'll see the most often. I'll go ahead and choose MLA. And you can see that it's generated a nice little citation for me. It doesn't have the hanging indent. You have to do that yourself. But it does allow you to copy it and paste it into your bibliography. Now, occasionally, this citation robot will make some mistakes. If that happens, you need to just double check it against your handbook. Or the OWL at Purdue, or whatever resources you happen to have available to you. You can export it if you like, if you use something like Zotero, or you can just print it. Now, another interesting thing that you can do here is you can use this little bookmark item to add this to your bookmarks. So I'll go ahead and add a few of these. And then I'll go ahead and try a different word. And you can see that we've got an almost entirely different group of search results, even though I only changed the word very, very slightly. And I'll go ahead and add those as well. And you can see that every time I do a new search, adding words or changing words, all of my filters remain. So we're still looking for full text, we're still looking for peer-reviewed, we're still looking for journal article, and we're still looking for 10 years. If any of these become bothersome, you can just dismiss them like so, and it will change the search results. Ooh, baseball card collecting. That seems interesting. So by trying out different searches, different search terms, and different search refinements, I can gradually build up a bookmarks list that is filled with things that might be a good match for my research. By clicking on this, the bookmarks in the top corner, you can see all of the things that I have added. That's a really cool cover. I like the way that the hole in the 9 is a baseball. Whoever designed that deserves a cookie. Now, from here, I can do something really special. I can format them just as I did before, but it affects everything on the list, every last one of them. So this right here, if they were in alphabetical order, is a bibliography. You're already doing pretty well there. Again, you'll need to handle the hanging indent by yourself, and you'll need to check it against whatever your instructor specifies for horrible robot mistakes, but they're all here. And you can see that they also each include a little link that will take you to that article. What you can then do is email these to yourself. So what you'll get is those citations in whatever style you choose, as well as the link that will take you back to those articles. And I strongly recommend that you do this as soon as you're finished searching. Even if you plan to come back later, put the good things that you have found into your bookmark list and then email them to yourself simply so that you'll have them. I can't count the number of times it's happened to me. I have found a brilliant article. I've neglected to send it to myself, and I've been unable to find it because I couldn't remember the exact combination of search terms I used. Save yourself the trouble, save yourself the heartbreak, just use this tool. You can put your email address in here. You can include a nice little salutation to yourself. And you can also take a Voight-Kampff test to prove that you are not a replicant. Normally, it agrees with me that I'm not a robot. If it doesn't, all you'll have to do is complete a CAPTCHA where you have to identify bridges. If you fail that, it just won't let you email. Luckily, they won't send a Blade Runner after you. And then I can email it to myself. Now, you'll note here that it says that this is a temporary folder. After you leave, all of this will be deleted after a certain period of time. It depends on the cookie settings that you have on your specific computer. So don't leave items in the folder if you have any intention of using them again. Generally, what I find is that the items remain in the folder if you don't want them to remain in the folder. For instance, if you're teaching several classes back to back, they'll stay there. But if you do want them to remain there, they will be gone. So again, save yourself the heartbreak, email those to yourself. All right. And that's the basics of OneSearch. Again, probably the best place to start your research, but certainly not the only place. By clicking on the library logo, you get to go back to the main page, and now we can have a little bit more fun. There are a couple of different places where you can go to look for additional information. First of all, we have our main database page. It's alphabetical, as you can see, but I generally recommend clicking on all if you don't know what we've got. And you can see that this is a list of every single database that we have in the university. And it's a long list. We pay several $1 million a year in order to get each of these arranged for you. Now, you might say, well, why should I bother looking in a database when I've got OneSearch? And that's a fair question. The answer is because most of these databases are subject specific. For instance, we were looking at baseball. I can see here that we have a database called Sport Discus, which includes nothing but sports and sports medicine. So by going into this database, you'll notice that it looks a little bit different, but essentially behaves the same way as OneSearch. We have refinements on the left. We have the articles in the middle. And you can see here that we have 74,595 articles on baseball. And we can also see they are very, very similar. Most of these appear to be biomechanics. Very good for people that are in kinesiology. But if you were interested in looking at the same search that we had before, you can see we have quite a few things here that we weren't coming up with originally. The relationship between spending and winning in college baseball. Is this the new arms race in college athletics from 2017? That sounds like something that would be extremely useful to someone preparing a freshman paper, since it's talking about college baseball, it's talking about college athletics, it's got the concept of an arms race. But notice that article didn't show up in OneSearch. According to OneSearch's algorithm, it wasn't sufficiently interesting to show up in the top 10 search results. But here it is. And of course, if you want to, you can click on the full text and read the whole thing. Just like before, it has its citations at the bottom. And just like before, you can also download it. And there's a slightly different interface to email it to yourself here, but it behaves in essentially the same way. So by going to a database, you can see that we get different articles in a different order. So by double checking a subject-specific database, you get the opportunity to look beyond OneSearch, look beyond the things that its algorithm thinks that you want to see, and gain a deeper understanding of your subject area. And as you can see from the one that I chose, Sport Discus, it doesn't have to be an area that you automatically think of as super academic. There's a lot of databases in here which deal with popular culture, literature, movies, sports, things of that nature. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, you could just do a Control F on this page and try and find databases that match your particular keywords. And you could also read through the entire list, one entry at a time, looking for something that might have some impact on your research. It's your time. You can spend it however you like. But we recognize that that's not ideal. So one of the things that we have done to make things easier is we've also grouped the databases in a number of research guides to allow you to find the ones that are most relevant to you at any given point. By all means, use the database list if you know the name of the database that you're looking for, or if you just want to browse. There's nothing wrong with that. But by looking at the research guides, you can see the guides that are specifically geared toward particular areas. For instance, let's say that we were interested in finding more articles on sports. We can just look through this much shorter list in order to find the topic that we're looking for. And this can also work if you're not sure which area or what the specific name of your area is. You can see that we have dietetics and nutrition here. You might think it's under dietetics, you might think it's under nutrition, but since it's such a short list, you can find it fairly easily. And as we look through it, you can see that health and exercise science is what we're after. Some people call it sports medicine, but it's here under health and exercise science. So by coming here, we can see a list of subject-specific databases that we can use outside of OneSearch in order to get more information in this area. Sport Discus is on there, the one that we just looked at, but we also have a variety of other things like PubMed, Health Source Nursing, CINAHL, things like that. Now, obviously, since these are for our health and exercise science kinesiology course, these are more going to be geared toward sports injuries, the sort of things that an athlete would be dealing with if they have to go through any physical therapy, because that's the point of the program. If you were interested in, say, people writing a novel about baseball, then you would go to a different area, in this case, the English and Literature subject guide. As you can see here, this guide looks slightly different than the other one, but it's got the same basic structure. You have a list of databases that you can use to find information on literature. And in this case, you can see that you have information about the librarian as well. This librarian is me. That picture's a little bit old, but I'm keeping it because, you know, why not? It takes 15 years off of my face, so I'll take that. You can also email me directly, and you see that my contact information is there. This is just another way to do it if you forget about what I've already shown you, or if you just want to have it there nice and conveniently. Now, that's all well and good, but we also have one additional way that you can find this information, and that is looking by class. And that's what our course guides are for. They're at the very top with a little asterisk, and you can see that we have a number of classes here. So let's say that you were interested in finding something for a Writing 102 class. Clicking there gives you access to the guide. And since Writing 102 has several different themes, you can click on each of them in order to see themes that are specific to that area. Although, to be fair, since it's a freshman level writing class, many of these are applicable to a variety of different areas. So let's use the business guide as an example. This has a lot of links on the side to things that you might be interested in: Bloomberg Business Week, Forbes, Fortune, the OWL at Purdue, corporate responsibility and sustainability reports. But it also has a number of other things that are going to be extremely useful. And some of these are in areas that you might not expect. So for instance, you can see here that we have CQ Researcher. Now, that is on the main database page, but it's not going to be listed under any of the subjects. You won't find it under English or sports or health and exercise science or anything like that. And that's because it's a multidisciplinary resource. These guides are one of the best places you can go to find interdisciplinary resources, things that don't fit into any one hole. CQ Researcher is especially useful if you're doing beginning research because it is an issues-based database. Rather than being based around articles, it contains information based around issues. So let's go ahead and just do a generic search here. All right. In this case, you can see that they have a report on sports and sexual assault as of 2017. So a couple years old, but it is designed in such a way that it presents a large volume of information in a very accessible way. These reports are designed to give you, the student, an overview of the topic, to ground you, give you some basic sources, and bring you into the ongoing conversation. Up at the top, you have a quote mark similar to the one that we saw before. As you can see, that allows you to export your citation. And then we have charts, graphics, and even some opinions, pro and con. Can bystander intervention training prevent sexual assaults by college athletes? This person says yes, this person says no. And you can see that they both have lots of credentials to back up their opinion. And then at the end, you can see that we also have a list of citations that are hyperlinked so that you can follow through with them. You could also look at something like Statista. As the name suggests, Statista is a statistics-based database. Again, it's multidisciplinary. Okay, fine, you can have my cookies. But it's multidisciplinary in that it provides statistics for every possible area. So you have some things like this that give you a list of individual statistics, like the total revenue of Major League Baseball. I click on that, you can see this is how much Major League Baseball has made. I wonder what happened there in 2020. Best not to think about. You can also see average revenue per team, all sorts of good stuff. This orange icon brings you to a statistical dossier, which you can download just like a book. And it has all that information in one place. But you can also look at these individually. Public interest in college baseball. How interested are people in baseball? Ooh, ouch, not a fan. Ooh, don't show this to any of my peeps who follow baseball. Admittedly, I'm not a big baseball fan either, but you can see that in addition to the information, it also tells you where it's from. It gives you a link to the source, and you also have some additional details. And those are just a couple of really quick examples of the sort of things you can find within the guides for both topics and for subjects. Okay. Dr. Parker, is there anything that I neglected to chatter about?
No, Alex, I think you got it all quite well and quite perfectly. So thank you very much for that.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and let you say a few concluding remarks, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
All right. Well, first thing I want to say is thanks to Alex for taking out of his schedule. He's got a lot going on, a lot of things that he's responsible for every day and every week. And he was kind enough to spend some time walking us through the databases available to students and faculty as well through the J.D. Williams Library and the Ole Miss website. So thank you, Alex, very much. Just wanted to say a couple more final remarks related to this. If you're still a little bit nervous about this after watching the video and your head's swimming a little bit, or you're not quite sure where to begin, that's a perfectly natural feeling. I know there was a lot of information that was conveyed to you in a short amount of time. The easiest way to get familiar and comfortable with the resources that Alex showed you is to just log in and start playing around with them. Get yourself inside some of those screens that he showed you. See if you can get yourself lost and pull your way back out of it, and see if you can do some of the features and some of the techniques that he showed you today with your topic and with the resources that you are selecting with your topic. This is one of those things you could watch countless videos or rewatch this video 10 times. And the only way you're going to get better at researching is by actually researching, by actually diving in and seeing what you can come up with. So that would be my best suggestion for another step going forward, would be to just log in and kind of try to replicate or repeat some of the steps that Alex showed you with your own research topic related to what it is that you're working on and what it is that you need to research for your particular class and your particular assignment. And the second thing I would say in finishing up is don't be afraid to reach out to your instructor, and certainly don't be afraid to reach out to Alex or other folks at the library if you have questions or concerns. Alex said it so well a few moments ago when he said, you were not bothering them or bothering us by asking us questions. If you're struggling, if you run into problems, if you get lost, if you just can't remember how to do something or where to find something, that's what they're there for. He showed you how to get in contact with the librarians there. And you can also certainly reach out to your instructor as well if you're running into trouble with research. So those are two final points that I would say moving forward after you finish this video lecture, watch this video lecture presentation that you may want to consider with regards to research and maybe some next steps that you want to take as you further move ahead with your own research project and your own topic. So Alex, thanks again so much for taking the time to be with us. Really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.